Okay, I'm going to try a mummy cave projectile point this time, and I am going to narrate again. You've already got one video where I didn't say anything, so you can watch that one over and over again to your heart's content. Let's see here. This is about the maximum dimensions of a mummy cave. I looked them up. 35 millimeters is the maximum length on these, and this just so happens to be 35 millimeter or a little bit over, and 15 millimeter for the width. And guess what? This is about 15 millimeter. So if I make a triangle that matches this, the overall dimensions, then that's the maximum, or close to the maximum for a mummy cave point. Okay. Yeah, I should make one out of a curved flake, just because I get questions on that quite a bit. Hey buddy, what do you got? Oh yeah, you've gotten into the grasses. I need to mow. There's a spot in the yard that has some long grasses in it. But they like to be sneaky and lay in the grass and get all hidden and camouflaged, right? It's probably nice and cool in there too. But that's not good. You're gonna get matted hair if I don't brush that out. Anyway. So yeah, I picked up some more flakes from the pile, and there's definitely more options if you do a smaller arrowhead. What you doing, buddy? I already said hi to you earlier. I was just out in the backyard right now. Go see what's the matter. What are your siblings doing? Okay, so let's see if I can knock this one out pretty quick. This is the last one in the series, the last video in the series. I was trying to think of what else to do. I was going to do a paleo point, but I'm going to do that in a different video. The mummy cave point was recommended to me, and I said, I can do that. I said that to myself. Let's see. Pick a more challenging flake. One that's impossible. Okay, well, let's see. I was looking at this one earlier. This one's pretty nasty. As far as flakes go, the material's okay, it looks like. It's just really weird shaped. So, okay, let's try that one. Not much room to get the maximum dimensions. They are smaller than that sample arrowhead. This is called a lot point. It's not a mummy cave. Mummy cave is more scalorn-like. It's more like this one, except smaller in size. Okay. This one doesn't have little delicate edges I can just snap off with my fingers. For those of you who are just tuning in, you can break rainy buttes with your fingers just by snapping it, which is not easy to do with flint or chert. You can sometimes do it with obsidian. I can probably still make a mummy cave out of that, but it would be a very short version. So I'll put it to the side. Oops. And pick another one. You're out of luck if you wanted to see that one. I didn't want to do that one anyway, right? That does count as a failure. So, still probably going to be around 50%. That's too easy. Curved ones are more difficult. Okay, so percussion is very harsh on this material, so looks like I'll be narrating through a bunch of pressure flaking. What do we talk about today? What is it that we should talk about it while I do the boring pressure flaking? Let me see. I was looking up those horses in Yakutsk. And believe it or not, they're called Yakutian horses. Imagine that. And apparently they were brought in from another part of the world 700 years ago. They've adapted to the climate. And I was reading about them, and they can actually produce antifreeze compounds in the blood, I think, right? It just said that they produce antifreeze compounds. Antifreeze. So I guess so their noses don't freeze or whatever. And these cold weather adaptations are evolutionary adaptations that happen in not just horses but other species like mammoths. And there's a term for that sort of thing, that kind of identical sort of evolution, but different species that, you know, they can't breed with each other. So that was interesting. And when I said 1 million people live in Yakutsk, it's 500,000, right? And maybe 1 million in the whole territory. But 500,000 in the city or thereabouts, close proximity. Still a lot of people freezing their butts off in the wintertime, I'm assuming. Assuming they're cold. I don't think humans can produce antifreeze compounds, but I need to look at that. Maybe Neanderthals had developed some of these antifreeze compounds. That'd be interesting to know. The genome is already mapped, so I should be able to do research on that. Somebody watching the video might already know. If you're smart, you'll put the comment in the comment section. I'm going to assume you're a dummy if you don't. Don't assume that, man. It's discriminatory. Yep. I apologize. All right, let's see. We got some room. It's just a curve is still in there. I'm going to take it out, but I'm going to be doing majority of my work with pressure. I can't really send in flakes very far with pressure. But luckily it's already thin to begin with. Pretty thin. Although it's getting thicker toward the middle. Talking about Asia, I'm going to make some Asian arrowheads. Triangular types. They have serrated edges. This is just one type from Asia. Serrated edges, just a straight base or a concave base, and then they've got tips that are faceted. And I don't know how they did it. You know, they could flake it so that it's like a tri-pointed facet, like the diamond file. The tips of them look like this. They have that 3 facets or 4 facets on the tip, and you'll see what I mean when I'm going to make one. I think I'm going to cheat and grind in the facets. But anyway, that just reminded me of those arrowheads. I've been wanting to do one of those on video for a while. For a long time. And now that I've said it, I got to do it. Right? Or I just leave it as a loose end. Forget that I ever said that. Because I'm just talking during the pressure flaking. I don't know if I can take out that curve. The other side's okay. If I if I trim mostly this side that way, I can take a lot of that curve out just by doing that. So let's see. I do want to thin it a little bit more while I still have some width. This video will probably run an hour or so since I'm narrating. A sharper tip's going to get me finer flakes, so I don't try to bite off too much and then snap the tip off or something. In theory. Trying to think of the questions I've been getting lately. I'll try to answer them in the comments section. A lot of you guys don't read the comments section, so I've got to mention them during the video so some of you guys can catch the answer. For what it's worth. I had someone ask me what are the metals that I use and the specifics. Well, I don't have specifics off the top of my head. 6061 aluminum. I think I mentioned it was 1061 aluminum, but I think I'm getting it confused with a welding rod. Okay, 6061 aluminum, typical hardware store aluminum. The copper. This particular copper is a copper bar, round bar I get off of eBay. It's a 1/4 inch. Let me see. Before I lie. Yeah, 1/4 inch. I don't lie to you intentionally. Yeah, sure. Yeah, I don't. Well, I try not to. Sometimes I do, so I can kind of giggle and go, they think it's true. Anyway. Yeah, the copper bar. I don't know what the specifics are on these things. I also buy brass bars or round rods. I guess they call rods if they're round and bars if they're flat. I don't buy any flat. Sometimes I buy grounding wire. Where's my extra spectacular small pressure flaker copper? This is grounding wire. Very cheap for me to get. I can get it for free. That's very, very cheap. But I can't use it for most of my applications. Just the small, tiny little pressure flaking applications. That's about it. Finish up on these little bitty arrowheads. What else did I get requests on? Oh yeah, I've also used wrought iron and mild steel for knapping. Hardened steel is good for some applications, especially for notching. That's what I use these for. You can buy these at Lowe's. You get a set of picks. I think there are 4 different picks in the set. I cut off the tops because they're curved in most cases, and I file them down to the spatula tool and the awl looking tool. And these are hardened steel, so they slip a lot. They don't grab the edge. They're just for minute work, and sometimes when the stubborn notch rears its ugly head, you can use the hardened steel to really plow through and smash the thick area. At least that's the theory. Sometimes it just makes it worse. Believe it or not, and I admit this, some stones work better when you're using a softer pressure flaker like an antler. Sometimes you can get better results, better pop outs with a soft material. But not many are like that. Not many stones like the softer, in my experience. They don't like the softer pressure flakers. Most of them respond to good old copper. That's the standard. And then you can work from there. I also like steel pressure flakers almost more than copper pressure flakers. I say almost because copper, it doesn't slip around. It's really annoying when it slips. It's so nice not to have to worry about, whoops, slips off the platform, or you have to braid it across this way in addition to this way, or whatever, just to keep the tool tip from slipping. It is rather annoying with steel. You can get used to it. The mild steel is easy to get used to. But yeah, copper is the standard. Alright. Curve's not out yet, man. What's up? What's the problem, man? Problem is I'm not really trying it. I'm already shorter, which is not bad because the 35 millimeters is the maximum. You can go as short as 15 millimeters or half of this. Alright, so these are small points. These Mummy Cave true arrow points. Okay, so how am I going to do this? I was going to take back that side a lot to try to get rid of some of that curve, but I took some off already. It didn't seem to work that well. So I'm going to have to lose a little off the tip, a little off the base, and see how much of that curve I can take out. Back to the old pressure. And back to the old silly narration stuff. Try to figure out what to talk about while I watch the clock. All right, let's see. Yeah, stuff snaps so easily. Put a little bit of pressure. And someone mentioned this looks like I'm napping chocolate, and it kind of feels that way, like I'm napping a petrified chocolate. Yes, indeed. It's a good description of this stuff. See what else. Yeah. That's a real stinker. I don't know how I'm going to take that out. I'm probably going to have to leave some of it in. Some of that curve's going to stay. Can we stay over? Yeah, I guess so. I don't really like you guys, but yeah, you can stay over. You can crash here and stay. That's okay. You know, like putting up with these curves is like having people stay over that you really don't think it's a good idea. But, you know, they're not too bad. You know, you always find out that you were the last resort. You know, you're the last person to ask, man. Really? Yeah, no one wanted me to stay over. You're pretty cool. Oh, really? Oh, thanks. Can I stay over again? Yeah, I remember those days. After you have kids, you can't do that too much. You don't have any room. Besides, everyone's awake all night. Yeah, you can stay over. Just if you don't mind getting woken up at night. You know? Little kids crying and stuff. Sometimes they turn the TV on and they're sitting there. You hear there's something going on in the living room. You go over there and they're watching TV at 4 in the morning. What the heck? They don't know what time it is, but they know how to turn the TV on. Scary as all get out. When it happens, you don't know what's going on in the next room. What the heck is going on in the next room? And you come back and tell the spouse, the kids were watching TV. Watching TV? Yeah, they're watching Land of the Lost, or Land Before Time for the 42nd time. Land Before Time. Yeah. My kids watched that over and over. The whole series. Ice Age, too. I remember those because I'm biased about Ice Ages and dinosaurs. But they watch Beauty and the Beast and all that. Alright, let's see. I don't want to think about that kind of stuff while I'm napping. I'm liable to get some anxiety and break the tip off. Yeah. This little booger on this side is going to have to stay in. It's going to have to stay over. Yep, no choice. Okay, let's see what we got. I gotta put in the notches here eventually. I'm thinking I could do the notches at the same time as thinning, but I don't know. With this stuff, the threat of overshot is so looming. The looming threat of overshot if I try to do anything drastic. Like I could do a nice long thinning flake from here, but is there a chance it'll go all the way across and ruin the whole thing? Or it'll create a big old step if I don't shoot it with enough power, and then I won't be able to get it from the side. But I got to do something here to get rid of that mass in the middle. Okay, gonna ahead and make it skinnier, which makes it more prone to snap, but oh well. Middle snap, or what they call folding. Snap in half. I call it snap in half. People call it folding. People call it end snap. People call it, oops, I don't know what happened, but now I have two preforms. I don't know what you call it, but now I got two preforms. Oh, that's what you did. Yeah. I know all about that. It's called control snap. Really? Yeah. Since everything in flint knapping is controlled, you did a controlled end snap. Oh yeah, I did, didn't I? Wait a minute, you're making fun of controlled overshot, aren't you? Yes, I am. God, you got me. Too smart for me, man. Yeah, I know. So go and do your controlled end snap. I dare you. Okay. Everything in flint knapping is controlled? Well, no. But if you're willing to go to the extent that you say that you can control an overshot, which is an intentional mistake, why not control the end snap? Why not say that the end snap was controlled? Why not? Using the same logic. No, I didn't call you in. I didn't call you back in. I didn't. You can tell I'm on film because you hear the little snappings. These are little smarty pants. He knows I'm busy, but he comes over anyway. Because I'm doing too much talking. Not enough snapping. Doing a lot of step fracturing because I'm goofing around. Why is it step fracturing so badly? I got a good platform. I got a good amount of material that I can press off against. And really not caring, I guess. Yeah, I'm not paying attention. I'm looking at the clock. I'm looking at not breaking it. I don't want to break it. And then I end up not taking risks. calculated risks. And then I'm thinking about mistakes. I don't want to be thinking about a mistake while I'm trying to pressure flake. Right? Too late. All right. I'll continue on the next segment. All right, so I got to pressure flake that mass off of the middle there, if I can, and then do the notches. And hopefully this video won't run into too much time, more than 30 minutes. It's already over 30 minutes. Now, these mummy cave points, they don't look straight-sided. They look, I think in the photos I was seeing there, it's convex. The sides are convex and not straight. So I made these straight to try to get more narrow, right, to attack the lump in the middle. It didn't really work, and now I got to live with it. I've got to set up these edges better. Yeah, I should use my new, not my new, but my fancy percussion flaker on this. Just like the good old days. I have little, in my older videos, I have a lot of small percussion flakers. Alright, small diameter tip percussion flakers. Let's see if I can thin it down with a percussion flake or two. I really don't want to, but I don't see any other option. That's really bad. I really let that slide. I didn't pay attention. I got them to travel somewhat. Those flakes kind of did travel, but not far enough. So what do you do in this case? You just got to make it smaller. Luckily, these were small. If I can just get rid of that lump in the middle, that would be good. Some of you guys watch this for the damage control. Some of you guys don't like the damage control. You want to see a steady progression without errors. I understand it. I spend a lot of time with damage control, which may or may not be accurate as far as replication studies go, or experimental archaeology goes. How much damage control did the old guys do? I have no idea. Is there evidence on artifacts on this damage control stuff? I think there is. But it's indirect evidence. It's not direct. Of course, you can only imply that there was damage control from preforms that look really pretty bad as far as shape and surface contours. Some of the preforms are pretty bad, full of step fractures, material that is inconsistent, and not the best material for knapping. Lopsided, thick end or thick tip is what I mean by lopsided, and just not ideal as far as preforms go. And that may have been why they were discarded, but it could also be that that's a pretty common practice, and that's why we see them that way, because there was a lot of them. Common practice. We really don't know. So if I say that there was a lot of damage control back in the day, I would be guessing. But I think that there was. But the preliminary flaking, the preforms and all that, not only is it expedient to just chip away and not be too concerned, you can delegate that job to someone who is less skilled and still end up with a finely finished point, even though the preliminary flaking and that kind of stuff was done by a lower skilled napper. So logic-wise, I think it's very possible that the skilled nappers were not only experts in the particular type to preserve the overall shape and design of the point, but also skilled in repairing or dealing with errors and not so good preforms. Now, what did I do to clear off a lot of that? I think you saw that while I was talking. I just picked at the step fractures with a sharp spatula tool. Just pressed up against the step fractures and started picking them off. Now, some material is easier to do that with than others. This particular material, the rainy buttes and similar, like high-grade basalt, heat-treated Horse Creek, let's see what else, and similar soft, some jaspers get this soft when heat treated. Soft, I mean, you know, easy to flake, not necessarily soft in hardness, but easy to grind down and that sort of thing. You can pick at these, and as long as it's easy to flake, you can pick at the step fractures and remove a lot of the mass. And that's what I did for most of this. Now I'm just going to try to clean up the chatter, the metal marks, and that sort of thing with some pressure. It's going to have a little bit of a lump there in the middle, but that's okay. Alright, let's see. Where's my pressure flaker? Well, I can probably now take a percussion flake across, or take a risk. Should I? Let's see. I don't know. I don't think I should take the risk. I'm just going to try to pressure flake the rest of it. That way I can talk about silly stuff again. And what would I be doing normally if I wasn't doing this? Would I really be napping this if I wasn't doing videos? Yeah, I would nap through a bunch of this rainy buttes and make a bunch of points. One, because sometimes I make a little collection of points and send them off to the person who donated them to me, donated the material. I'll nap some points from it and give the points back, and that's the arrangement, right? But also I'll practice with it so I can answer questions. That's number 2. And number 3, if I really like the material, I get kind of addicted to it, and I'll nap through the whole box and try to do as many points as I can, and then feel sad once it's over. No more rainy buttes. Now Life has no meaning. You know, that sort of thing. Do I really get depressed with this stuff? No, I don't. Don't listen to me when it comes to that sort of stuff. Okay. If I run out of a particular kind of rock, it's no big deal. I'm trying to think if I ever got depressed with a type of rock that I didn't have any more of. Gosh. I know I got rock that I wish I didn't have, because I go over there and I look at it and it's like, man, I got plenty of rock, but it's that weird, goofy stuff. It's that stuff that it's got concrete just when you don't want it to have concrete. It's got little pockets of it, and they end up at the bottom of the notches, or they end up near the tip. These little pockets of concrete will drive you totally insane. But I got a bunch of it. Yeah, I got stuff like that I wish I didn't have. But do I get sad about stuff that was really good and now I don't have anymore? Not really. I might say it in the comments that, yeah, I wish I had a ton of it. And my life would be peachy keen. But if I don't have stuff I like, I just stop napping for a while. And once the itch gets bad enough, I'll nap anything. And yeah, you start itching for getting back into napping, because there's something satisfying about it. There's other hobbies that I can do. I can do woodworking and stuff. I used to make a bunch of bows back in the day. I don't know why I cannot do the bows anymore. I start making one and I look at it and I go, this is not going to work out, or I'm going to be wasting my time on this particular piece of wood because I can already see some insect damage. I mean, I make excuses because for some reason I don't want to do it. But flint napping, I think there's less stress on each project because it's just rocks and I can get more, or I can work on really small flakes if I want. I've got a ton of really small flakes. If I really want to, I could have napping material for years if I just work on small flakes. It's really not that big a deal. There's no real heavy-duty stress. It's aggravating. You can sit there and you can blow off little barbs and stuff, and it gets really aggravating. But as far as actual stress, where you're stressing out, it's not that bad. Whereas in some other projects that I do, there's just no room for failure. And if I fail on a particular bow with a particular piece of wood, if I don't have any more seasoned wood, it's going to take another year for me to get back to it, depending on how long the wood takes to season, and that sort of thing. Or you save up money and buy an expensive piece of wood that's already seasoned from somebody. Either way, it takes some time. And you can run into hundreds of dollars for each project. Whereas with rocks, the most I spend these days is maybe a tank full of gas. Or the shipping. And that's pretty much it as far as expense. This material really isn't good for long, thin flakes on the damage control. Like normally when I take a flake from the base like that, it'll run up a long ways, a pretty long ways, and I can thin out the stem. That one ran a long way, but it didn't really go deep. On a lot of other material, the flakes will run a little deeper. Something to keep in mind, I guess. So the size is about the same. All I need to do now is just sharpen it up. All right, I'm within range of the mummy cave, I think. Maybe I'm a little too wide. No, I think I'm there as far as width goes. Yeah, so I just need to work on the edges a little bit. I didn't send flakes over this original flake service on that side because I didn't want to reinstall the curve, and I also wasn't really paying attention. So I'll just finish it up with some pressure. Can't remember the base, if the corners of the bases are rounded. I think they are slightly rounded on these mummy caves instead of pointed. Did you just wipe out something that took you a lot of effort to put in? Yeah, but I want it to look like a mummy cave point. I don't want it to look like a scaleron, for example. I think the edges were serrated on these sometimes. My memory is better these days now that I'm not eating all that junk food, but I still can't remember everything. But I think that said that some of these were serrated, or that many of them were serrated. So if I put a little bit of serrations in it by accident, it won't look bad. And by accident means that I just chip away and not worry about it. And yes, you can make sure that you don't put in serrations by being very careful about how you chip. Some points don't have any. Looks like they have a very clean edge. And no serrations at all. And that's intentional. I think serrations are the default, irregularities are the default way of doing the edges. Just kind of chip away until it feels sharp. An intentionally smooth edge takes a little bit of thinking. A little bit of extra thinking to get that smooth look. All right. Of course, it takes a little bit of extra thinking to get that very serrated look too. I gotta be careful on the tip because it so easily snaps off. With this type of material. Yeah, I don't know if this is accurate. I have a feeling that I'm not wide enough for a mummy cave point. The edge looks a little bit too straight, as far as I remember. I'm just going to sharpen it, thin the edge down a little bit. It's kind of hard to do with such a small piece. It's probably easier if I use the spatula tool. A small piece, even the slightest roundness on the pressure flaker can cause a crushing. And not a clean snap, but a crunch. When a lot of the original surface is on a point, they call it unifacial. I don't know if these were unifacial or not, but I'm just going to call it good. I can't look it up while I'm doing it because I looked it up online. I could, if I had a separate phone, I could probably look it up and show you the pictures of this thing online, but I'm just going by memory. So yeah, a lot of these points can be utilized for this type, and if it existed in the area, for this type as well. I wonder, probably is not a coincidence that they're about the same length. They ended up about the same length because of the limits of the material. This one is shorter for a different reason than this. This had a curve in it, still slightly apparent. And this one did not, I don't think. I snapped off the tip, about 1/8 of an inch at least came off the tip. But they ended up being about the same length. This is not unreasonable for an arrow point. Some people say, man, it's too small, man. You don't put that on an arrow. That's not going to kill big game. What are you doing? Alright, so that's 32.5 millimeter. 35 was the maximum as far as the reference that I was using. I think 15 was the maximum here. So we're a little bit over 15, but pretty close. Stem length and width about 10. I think I'm a little bit too short. Yeah, you know what? That stem is too short. Yeah, it's 9 on the width, and the stem length should be about the same as the width. So I'm pretty short on the stem. So if I put those notches up higher, I probably should have done that. Yeah, I probably should have put those notches up a little higher than the corners. That way the stem is longer. Maybe not wider, but I think on these the stems are just as tall as they are wide. And I think I'm a little bit too short on the stem. Yeah, because it's like 7 or 8 millimeters tall and 9. Oh, I'm pretty close. 9 wide. All right. Okay, so I'm gonna call it good. That's it.